Hey friends, it's your boy, shadowgearinbox, otherwise known as Brendan. Take that, flip it around. Multiple things going on with this review. First off, hello. Second off, I'm sorry I have not shaved or showered. I've been lazy today, and I'm going to be recording a podcast soon too, so I'm like, what? You're doing this now? You should be eating dinner. Another thing, I'm not used to recording on my phone like this with a selfie stick of all things. So I'm not used to looking at the camera directly that often. And I'm holding my phone sideways because I'm not a pleb. And my camera is over here. But I'm used to looking up here, where a webcam normally would be. And I'm just, it's maybe a little weird. Just saying, just overall, this might be a little weird. Anyway, the reason why I'm doing it in this style is because I'm going to review Tempest. Because I finally broke down, and I do not believe I can switch cameras actively like this. Let's find out, boys and girls. Holy shit, it's your boy. So here's Tempest. So I finally broke down. I'll get to this, ignore this. So I finally built Tempest. That's not true. Here he is. I finally I can't speak. I finally broke down and bought a backdrop for him, which these are just two giant pieces of black foam board, which I'm going to be using for this MOC and another large MOC. And this is better than doing it outside. I mean, it's going to take a lot of editing to get certain pictures to look right, because, you know, even this is like, you can see part of my desk and part of my bed and my medicine. But yeah, here's the dude. If I'm gonna do vertical, it's probably gonna annoy a lot of people. I did it anyway. So here's Tempest. This MOC is big. The last time I had measured him, he is about 28 inches in height. For a size comparison, here's a water bottle. There's your water bottle. Goes up to just about under his knee. So, dude's about maybe 4 water bottles high. If that means anything, I really don't know. But yeah, here's the dude. So to give a backstory for this, sorry for the shaky camera. I'm not used to using a selfie stick all that often. So Tempest is the ultimate version of Guardian. Guardian is, for those who aren't aware, Guardian's a character, the son of Titan, who was a very old MOC of mine. Wanted to do something new with the character. Instead of making a revamp, I made a sun for him. And the sun is like an air spirit in like a spacesuit. He has a form outside of the spacesuit, which is his origin form, just referred to as origin. And then that origin form can possess this, and that is Tempest. And Tempest, in canon, is very large. So this dude, fun fact, I have some pictures I can put up on screen right now, Brendan of the future, hope you remember to do this, in which he can transform into ship mode. And this is just the rough concept of it. I have not finished it, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm going to. But the only reason why I didn't is because, like, it was just this giant, like, space chunk, very much inspired by, Transformers, not Prime, Transformers Animated, Omega Supreme. Just this big, large slab with little wings on it, and that was that's what it was. I like it. It can fully transform. There are parts of it that do parts form off and then attach on again. But yeah, that's why some parts of this look like, why is there a canopy in his chest? Why are there canopies on his shoulders? Why can his head split in half? I'll get to that later. But yeah, that's part of the reason why. Again, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to finish it, but that I wanted to showcase that because I was never shown off in any of the whip pictures I had up on Instagram, which is how most people were able to see this thing, because I kept posting whip pictures, and as I'm talking about this, I will post pictures as I'm talking. But yeah, here's the dude. 20 inches in height, very tall. He is poseable. I'm going to go through details parts of the MOC after I talk about poseability. I'm not going to showcase it because this dude is heavy. Very heavy. Last time I had weighed him, he was just about over 10 pounds. I don't know what that is in the metric system, but there are converters on the internet. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're probably smart enough to know how to use a Google. But he's about over 10 pounds. I forget exactly what it was, but he's friggin' heavy and very unstable in parts, despite the fact most of his joints are geared. And by which I mean you need to actually turn gears in order to move his limbs, which ends up making him very stable. Like, I can do this. Dude does not fall over. You can poke him, doesn't fall over. Mainly because he uses some good old-fashioned stands back here connected to his butt, and that helps him do his thing. But yeah, man. So he has down here. There's a single ball joint here that acts as an ankle joint, and there are 4 pistons on each side, like in each cardinal direction that maneuvers his ankle, which works out fine. Also, another reason why he's able to stand so prominently without him slipping is because there was the Nexo Knights Fortrix and the Lego Boost set as well has these as well. These little rubber stopper pieces you can put on the bottom and they plug right into pinholes. Perfect for giant MOCs like this because dude stands solidly on the ground. So he has an ankle joint there. He has a knee joint, which are about 4 ball joints and 2 pistons, I believe. And the reason why his legs are standing so solidly is because there are these little pinny-doos right here that connect his knees. That was a weird way to say it. It locks his knees together. So if I pull these out, which I'm not going to, if you pull these out, it will unlock his knee joint and he can use his knee joint. I'd say about maybe a 60 to 70 degree bend, not necessarily a full 90. I designed it being a full 90. That's one thing too. That was a big internal debate with me because this MOC started out as a massive Technic MOC, and then I added a lot of system for detailing and such. And there are definitely a lot of spots on this dude where I could have been a lot better, and I will get to that. But yeah, he's mainly Technic for this skeleton. Most designs. The main reason why I started to build Tempest now, this version anyway, was last year. Right around this time, like October, November, I had a whip going. And the main reason why I got on the horn is because there's a Marcus out there called Duncan Limbo, who is very popular in the Lego mecha community. And he makes some really great designs. He posted a gearing system for the waist here, which required these giant spider gears and all those other things that actually made it durable and sturdy and posable too. So I made that skeleton first. I built the waist first, and then the lower legs were made from a whip I made earlier. Back in September, I made this foot design and an upper leg design that I just kept around. I never used it. So I combined the waist and that leg and made this thigh, and then that's how the lower section was born. And frankly, it's my favorite part of the MOC. Well, the lower body and the lower arms are my favorite part of the MOC in general, because I think the general silhouette of this dude is very imposing, very blocky. It's definitely a very particular aesthetic of just yo, look at this boy. I'm going to try something here. I'm going to extend this, ignore the volume. Let's try doing this. Yeah, there we go. You can see that a bit better. Again, sorry, I am literally sitting on my floor with 2 very bright lights around here. But yeah, here he is. What was I saying? So he does have waist movement. So he does have ratcheted hips that can go out a couple clicks, not a lot, but enough to give this A stance. Also, something that was a big deal to me about this dude. Well, again, sorry for the video. This is all kind of messy. Again, I'll add some other stuff in the video to make it a bit more visually, interesting. So a big deal with the last version of Tempest, which I never reviewed. I made a slideshow of, but I never reviewed him. And one of the biggest problems with that MOC was because he wasn't as large as this. Probably right about to here he went. So this dude is about maybe another third or another half taller. Is because he used a lot of those ratchety joints, like the ones you find on Scopio and a lot of our other older Technic sets and Bionicle sets that were these large, clicky ratchet joints, which are very useful. However, every time you would bend a joint on the MOC, it would violently shake, and stuff would come apart or come loose, and it just wouldn't be fun to pose whatsoever. So I decided instead to go out of my way to make every joint motion on this dude smooth. Hence why he uses gearing, hence why he uses, ball joints, because none of that will actively shake or mess with the MOC in any particular way. So that was my big impetus. And another thing I wanted to change from the previous version of Tempest is that I wanted to make him look more natural when he's just standing like this. Because face it, you make a MOC this large, you're not going to be getting him in rider kicks or him doing him doing hopscotch. He's basically just going to be standing his whole life. And if you're going to be having a MOC that large who's only going to be doing that pose, you want to make him look really good. And so a big thing of mine is like he needs to have a leg swivel somewhere here in the thigh. The thigh itself here, this here down is a brick. See, that was an accident, but that actually can show off the thing here. There is a large gear inside of there with multiple gears that add friction, and this can swivel. And even just a little swivel, this is always a pain in the ass putting this piece back on, because it's a very particular friction in there. You know, we're just going to leave it like that, because I know if I just tap it, it's going to fall off again. So we're just going to leave it out there for now, which is another thing I'll get to with this MOC later on. So yeah, he has a little swivel here. And again, like just that little bit of turn can make it look so much more natural. So again, as it ratchets here, he does have a large gear in there that can make his legs go out and in. Not by much, but he definitely can do it. At one point, this MOC was able to just do like a kneeling pose, and as I went along, it couldn't really do much else. He does have a waist joint. It is right below this section here. There's another large gear that if you turn a series of spiral gears and such on the back, he can move his waist. And in this form, despite all the crap that's on top of him, he can slightly move left to right, but it's not by much. And then from here, here in the shoulder joint, it can move out, it can move back, it's fine. It can even, this one I can actually show off. There are two pistons here. That's just deformed there. But the pistons actually are strong enough to keep that slightly angled, because again, having that slight little angle does help him look a bit more natural, and that is good. He does have a swivel here in the elbow. You can see here there's that smaller gear that if you turn this little doodad there, his arm will go boop, boom, boop that way. He does have an elbow joint, which does not look like he does, but I assure you he does, because here's a smart little thing, which is part of the transformation, but I kept it in here anyway. So if you detach these two side panels, this is something I'm actually really super proud of. Detach these two side panels and just bring this part up. And that's another thing too, if you look in deeper parts of this MOC and look at pictures closely, there are a lot of multicolored parts in here because I did run out of parts. You can fold that inside, stretch those back out, fold that inside here. And now you have this big gaping hole, and with that big gaping hole, you can bring this up, and he's got an elbow joint again. It's not like a perfect 90. It does fall apart. That is something that happens. Hold on, and we're back. Okay, so, oh, shit. So yeah, that elbow joint is there. I think that's super cool to have that there. Like, it's a cool way to manipulate all this, and it totally works, because with a MOC at this scale, you can do that kind of stuff. And then you have his hand, which is the most articulated thing on the MOC, because I went out of my way. Big, chunky fist. I love big, chunky robot fists. In general, this dude, to go on a small tangent, this dude was heavily inspired by Gurren Lagann, to the point where I listened to the theme song on loop for multiple days, and now I can't listen to it anymore, because it makes me go a little crazy. But like Gurren Lagann, like super robot, like old style G1 Transformers, like that's what this dude is inspired by. Granted, again, like the big blocky aesthetic isn't for most people. For me, that's what I love with the giant robots, like big blocky looking dudes who are able to transform. And I think that's a really cool thing. So a big chunky fist, which is totally posable. On the base of the knuckles are all mixel joints, and then there's all hinge joints for the fingers. I modeled these after my hands, which my hands are definitely bigger than this dude's hands, but the way it's jointed. So like, oh hey, like this part looks like a 3 long, that looks like a 2 long, that looks like a 2 long, this looks like a 3 long, 3 long, 2 long. I based it kind of on that. And so when you bend the fingers, they're all same size, but they're jointed in different places. So like these two fingers here can roll up the same way, and then this one rolls up slightly different to give the impression that the fingers are different lengths, and then the thumb double jointed here that can just wrap around and give a natural looking fist. And that looks really great too. I love the way that looks. And that's ball jointed again, so you can do a bunch of stuff with that. Then there's the head, which I'm going to just say for posability's sake, it is ratcheted for side to side. And then there are two mixer joints here that can have them look up and down. You can kind of see the mechanism there. It's not the strongest mechanism. It literally just works for the sake of him being able to move his head. Again, like having it up and down and a slight tilt like that makes it look a lot more natural. The only thing that would make it look a bit more natural if he actually had like a little side-to-side movement, like an actual like ball joint like neck, but that's not going to work out with a dude this size. But yeah, that is some stuff here, dude. There are some gimmicks in here as well that I've put in. Again, I'm not going to do it here on camera because, again, it's a lot more of a hassle than you think it's worth, or I think it's worth. So here in the lower legs, one of the things I originally designed with is that this part opens up, or actually unpegs and comes up, and then these two panels open up. I'm going to show it on screen here. They're just giant bits of missile spam, and with that missile spam, I can kind of do it. I shouldn't be a deadbeat. I'm going to take this and move this out of the way. It's easier to get the one here on the left open as opposed to the one on the right because it's a bit more buried into the foot. There we go. If I bring this light over here, you can kind of see it. Bunch of red, like Macross missile spam, kind of like giant missiles, very much akin to like old style anime robots. And there are pink studs behind those translucent tiles, so it makes the red pop a lot more. So that's a really cool bit of business. There's that. Then there's this stuff up top here. Can I do this? Can I do it? Oh, I did it, right. Some stuff up here. I mean, I can slightly show it. This is a very, very loose bit right here. If I just take this and open it up, you can kind of see how that works. Bunch of friction ball joints and pistons there. Kind of a nightmare, but you got some more missiles here. There's a panel here. Again, there's a picture up on screen if you want to take a look at it. There's that. You can flip that around at the cup fill in this gap. This piece can come up, and then that little jetpack bit that's on the back can form up here. That can be that. And then there's the chest, which is cool, but also not cool at the same time. So what you can do is that you can flip this up, and then these panels can come out. This I can actually do because it's fairly easy to do. There we go. And then these pieces can form up together. So here's the thing, right? So inside there, I'm going to bring this light in here because there's another cockpit in there. And that is part of when this dude transforms, there's another cockpit and like a bunch of the characters fit inside there. So like my idea was like, what if I gave Circuit a giant gun and then she would open up the cockpit or she would shoot through that cockpit and then through her gun, she'd fire it out of this dude's chest and then use these red panels here to like be an amplifier. This is all vague story stuff that I've never fleshed out. Mostly ideas and a story. But yeah, then you have this, a giant friggin' chest cannon. And you notice he has two giant T's for nips. Frankly, simply put, I ran out of these. Even from Pick-a-Brick. Like 2-3 giant handfuls, I ran out of these pieces. So I just used them as T's. It looks super silly, I know. But yeah, there's that. He has a giant chest cannon and all that together. He has a giant, like, Macross missile mode. And, before I get into my general thoughts on this dude and, like, my post and pre-thoughts and everything, there are more things I want to go over. If shit didn't just fucking fall apart. Okay, we're back. Hello. Another thing, he has a jetpack here, which, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try to do this. Brrr. I hope you guys can see that. Hope you can see me. Hello. That is a giant pre-made minifigure airplane wing piece used as a jetpack, which fits perfectly and is wide enough to add these pylons here on the side, which I'm not going to fucking touch these because if I do, they shatter, which is completely my fault because I made these so late into the build, I didn't want to work on it anymore. So, then there's the head, which I think is very unintentionally very Optimus Prime styled, very, like, I didn't know what to do with the head. I had so many other ideas, and none of them looked that great, and this one kind of stuck with me. There was a mod I had button to take out this bridge of the nose and make this dude just a giant visor face, which looks cool, and fits more with the idea of Guardian, because this dude's basically just a giant version of Guardian, who, again, I will mention, is this dude. So this dude and this dude are the same dude, if you can believe it. But yeah, there's a visor face I made for him. It doesn't look as good, mainly because like the bridge of the nose fills in a lot of gaps here. I think it looks really cool. Here's something I'll do though. I'm gonna take this head off, and then it's designed because when I had the ship mode, this thing splits in half, which I will do on camera. Hopefully nothing shatters again because this dude's head fell off during the middle of picture taking and shattered into a billion pieces. There we go. There's the head split in half. and then this would be like the back of the ship. That would be the detail. So you can't really tell it's a head unless you really look at it from the side and just be like, wait a minute. But yeah, this would form the back of the ship, but this is mainly used for lights. So if you saw this dude at Brick Fair, Virginia, 2017, which he was more or less unveiled at, hey, spare pieces. That's where that piece came from. Bingo bringo. So there were these lights. I used these. These were from Michael's Arts and Crafts. These little lights here, these peg right into minifigure clip hands. Perfect. You give them nice bright lights. Again, there'll be a picture on screen with the lights actually on, mainly from Brick Fair. Worked out beautifully. Worked out totally fine. However, when I packed this dude away from Brick Fair, this is my first time opening him ever since early August, I had left the lights on, so the batteries died. So I used some different lights for the actual photography. But yeah, that's what this whole cavity is meant for. And that can just pegs back in. And then, boop, there we go. And just put that head back on. Magic. Well, that's not true. It's actually just resting there. I better go fix that. Let's get right into my thoughts, in which I talk more about this MOC. Should I go to me? Should I go to me? Nah, we'll keep it like this. So Tempest, I always wanted to make a MOC this large. Like, I don't know if people have this thought all that much, but there are, the concept of, like, having a holy grail build. Of, like, if you had unlimited parts, unlimited time, unlimited money, and, like, creativity, like, what do you want to build? And my thing is just make a giant fucking robot. And this was it. This was the culmination. So I never talked about this in a video on YouTube before. So the first version of this dude was much larger. This was, like, back in, like, 2011, 2012, actually. I think it was 2012. Because I was in my old house before the storm hit. And that was a picture from... That's what this picture is from. This dude was like 4 feet tall. He was giant. He could barely stand. There's a size comparison between the old version of Shadow and Technic Darth Vader, which this dude was massive. And I ended up doing nothing with him because I never finished him because I realized it was very unrealistic. And then years later, I made the previous version, in which that's where that slideshow is. Oh, look, there's the air conditioning going off again. Lovely. You guys can hear that. I love this. But yeah, there was that. And it was an okay version. Like, it was a lot more Bionicle inspired. This one's definitely more of a Technic MOC, which was, again, like, a grip I had to come to of just like, this is a Technic MOC, this is a Bionicle MOC. No, it's actually just a giant mech, which is probably why I got a lot of recognition from people at Brick Fair. In particular, one Kevin Hinkle coming up to me and wanting to do an Instagram story on LEGO's official Instagram. For those who did not see it, here's a clip of it.
Hi, my name is Brendan Barado, known as ShadowGear635, and I made this MOC here called Tempest. It is over 28 inches tall and took me about 6 months to build. I really love how it came out.
Yeah, so it's something. It's actually very cool, but yeah, the dude's a giant mech, not a Bionicle MOC. So, but it's a mixture of a lot of stuff. I used to call it a Bionicle MOC, but realistically, there's not a single Bionicle part on this thing. But yeah, that's the thing. This dude is a Holy Grail MOC, and as I was building it, I started him, like I said earlier, back in like November or December of last year, 2016, and it's all I worked on for the majority of that year. And it was great at the start. I had a lot of inspiration. I was going with it. Basically, from here to about here is where it was like the height of just like, fuck yeah, like, fuck, like, giant robot, awesome, cool. Like, look at how thick these thighs are and how much the lower legs look like these giant boots and how blocky the hips are and this canopy. Oh, fuck, it looks really cool. And I thought of designs for, like, how to transform it and everything because it wasn't originally designed to be a transformer, but I had the idea to do it anyway, so fuck it, even though the transformation was kind of half-assed in the end. But the thing with this dude is that it means a lot to me. I like this MOC a lot. It is a symbol of, like, look at this giant fucking thing I can build. Look at just the sheer size of it. Just, like, the parts you seek, the techniques I used, whether they were fleshed out or not. Like, super impressive, and I love it. I am so tired of looking at this thing. Halfway through building it, like, during, like, February or March of this year, I just hated myself. Because I wouldn't allow myself to work on anything else other than this dude. Because I felt like if I stopped, I would just stop working on him. I would lose my friggin' flow. And for a while I did, and I got back on it, and like I half-assed it. Like, arm design's good, but like if you touch this part the wrong way, it's gonna shatter. Like the connections here in the shoulder, while they look good, aren't that great. I went out of my way to make this lower part a lot more sturdy, and then the upper part was kind of like, eh. And then halfway, in like a month before Brick Fair, I focused on making the robot mode look good and not the ship mode. Because I figured I'm only going to display them one way. I want the people to see the robot mode, because most people aren't going to care about the ship mode. But I don't know. I'm so conflicted with this MOC because I'm so proud of it. I love the way it looks. It makes me so happy to see it like this, and I can have it displayed like on the top of my desk, and it's always just like looking down at me. It's fucking awesome. But honestly, like, I want to take it apart. I'm sick of looking at it. I don't know if I'm going to immediately, but I'm like, I don't like, this MOC means a lot, and it's part of the reason why I'm making this video. Because even though I'm still kind of not interested in doing MOC reviews like this anymore, at least for the time being, I still want to like catalog like, this is the fucking giant thing I worked on for a solid year. If not a year, then maybe like 9 months. It's still a good chunk of the year. And this is, I wanted to just be like, show off like, here's my really cool MOC that I worked on. And here is the final outcome that I'm super proud of. Because the color blocking is cool. Like, green and black is a base color. Light gray and dark gray is like accent colors. And then just like the light gray, actually more so light gray being for like armor. So like the thighs, the biceps, parts of here on the wings, parts on the head, the chest plate. Like, it's, the color blocking I think looks super cool and is like very, very interesting. And trans red being shown off as like armor, or not armor, it's like weapon bits or like power, or like, and translucent blue being used for like canopies or eyes or like where other smaller stuff would be. And I don't know, like I'm proud of this MOC, but I'm sick of looking at it. I don't know. Also, it's a giant parts whore. Through Bricklink, I would order a lot of parts for this dude. Like, these pieces here are not cheap. They're like maybe $2 or $3 a piece. And then you have all these... This dude is 99% made of friggin' like black cheese slopes and green slope pieces. Because if you look at something like this, like those are all like curved slopes. Like this face, it has a lot of smaller slope pieces built into it. You look at something like the lower leg, where all of this is black cheese slopes. A lot of it here in the foot. Oh, there's also a gimmick here in the foot, which I did not show off. If you flip this out, it's not on that foot because I didn't put it in there. If you flip this out, boop, it's got a tiny gun. Pew 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 pew. It's very cute, and that can just roll back up in there. Again, at that size, you can do stuff like that. Because that was the thing I really wanted to focus on when I first worked on this dude. But I think me trying to put a transformation in kind of fucked with it. Is that I wanted him... His codename is the Living Fortress. And what I wanted to do is make him more like a giant playset. Again, also, another thing I mentioned, he's based off a Transformer. He's mainly based on like Metroplex or like Fort Max. Which a lot of people pointed out when I started to really show off this dude in his final form. He looks a lot like Fortress Maximus. Or like Omega, not Omega Supreme, but like just basically giant city former transformer dudes. And I wanted him to be like a giant playset where he'd have like gear functions and like other stuff, and like I kind of got away from it. I kind of regret not focusing more on that instead of the transformation, but I still don't hate this version. I still love this MOC. It came out super nice for me and I super enjoy it. It's just, you work on something for that long, you get super sick of it. And I'm probably going to keep him around for a while, but like, I'm not going to keep him around till the end of time like I do with like most of my MOCs. This dude is a giant, beautiful set piece, and I may keep him around for a year, I may keep him around for a week. I don't know. But I'm using this as like a cautionary tale of like, when you work on something, don't get burned down on it. A giant project like this is like, I proved to myself that I can make a MOC like this. I kind of like limped towards the end of, the finish line with like, oh hey, you kind of like, this is just kind of like a hollow shell that can be taken apart easily, and this is kind of like all flubbed together. There's a lot of studs on this thing that I could have covered. There's a lot more gaps I could have filled. Like there's a ton of blue pins on this dude, and like there's a bunch of smaller stuff on here I could have fixed, but at some point I just had to give up and just focus on one particular thing, and just, it's super presentable and I like the way it looks. I feel like I'm bitching. I'm not really saying anything constructive, but I'm saying like, I love this MOC and I'm super proud of it. This dude just fucking fell. I want to say that, like, it means a lot to me, because this is a holy grail build. Like, I'm happy that I proved to myself that I made something like this. And I can't tell you how happy I was to stop working on this and come home from Brick Fair and just be like, I have all this other stuff I want to work on. I've been making a lot of other stuff. I haven't been posting it a lot lately, because generally I've had a lot of time or energy to. But I finally got around to showcasing Tempest. So, yeah, that's the boy. He's great. I love him, but I'm sick of seeing him. This dude has been nothing but, like, in my creative space, like, no video games, nothing. Like, I remember when I, like, in the middle of working on him, in March of this year, 2017, I picked up Zelda Breath of the Wild and played that a bunch, and I remember feeling so guilty while playing it, because I should be working on this dude when I should be doing something else creatively and not burning myself out on this dude, which ended up doing that anyway. And it's something. I don't know. I feel like I had a point, but I lost it. I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's Tempest. He's super cool. You want to see what it looks like from the back? Do you really want to see it? Well, I guess I should show this mock off in motion, right? Hold on. Let's see how well I can do this. I'm gonna try and move him. Oh. Even for someone like me who's been doing weightlifting, this is still heavy. Oh boy. Hold on, we're gonna get head deep, face deep. That'll do. I'll deal with that. Here's the back of the mock. Again, here are these giant stands. I didn't cover the backs of the feet, so there are the backs of the feet. See, there's one ball joint and a bunch of pistons in there. Then there are the thighs here. You can kind of see the joints in there for how that works. There's the back. There's a giant geared piston in there for part of the transformation. There's the back of the head. There's the jetpack, which, again, I kind of just super gave up on towards the end. It looks great from the front. From the back, looks like garbage. But, yeah, let's hear it for the boy. That is the boy. Oh, God, can I move it? Oh. Yep. It's fun working with system, ain't it? I wonder why so many people do it. Okay, well, that's Tempest. That's the guy.